Hey guys, welcome back to more relationship stories. In this video, my crazy ex-wife framed me for theft because I got custody of our son and then tried to get me sent to prison. Let's dive right into the video. The first one is titled, Partner Threatened to Frame Me for Murder. Long story short, I, 32 female, married my wife, 31 female, on June 29th. It's no secret that she suffers from suicidal ideation after her younger brother ended himself in our home. I have been her support and supported her through a psych ward stay when she was trying to unalive herself. She still struggles though. She wanted to get married on a whim last month within 10 days notice. We have been together for 6 years, ideally love her and hate weddings, so I agreed to an elopement in Vegas because it sounded fun and simple. It was just that. Fast forward to last night though. We are married now, cuddling in bed, and she says, if you cheat on me, I will frame you for murder and take out a large life insurance policy. So, Reddit, how do I protect myself? I'm not cheating or planning on it, however, she has a history of mental illness and this makes me uneasy. So now I'm looking for methods of recording stuff like this to protect myself if something like this comes up again. Any advice for me? Comment number 1. Since you were well aware that your wife was mentally ill and agreed to marry her anyway, annulment is probably off the table. Typically though, there would have been an act of concealment on her part about her mental state or an indication that she was unfit at the time of marriage. This varies by jurisdiction however, and you have not provided yours. If annulment is not an option, divorce is. It makes no sense for you to sit around and record stuff. And by the way, Ripe Stars, I'm curious, if you would be in this situation, what would you do? Would you instantly go for divorce or also try and record things like OP? Let me know in the comments. Then the person in the comment further said, the best way of protecting yourself from your wife is getting far away from her ASAP and contacting a divorce attorney. Comment number 2, you've been together 6 years and never paid attention to the red flags? You need to get some counseling for yourself because it's obvious you are not making good choices. See an attorney immediately, you need to annul and step back with your own appropriate counseling support. And now we got an update to the story that reads like this. So it's been about 3 months since my original post and a lot has happened. First, I want to thank everyone who sent supportive messages and gave me advice. You probably saved my life. The night after I posted, I could not sleep. My wife was next to me and all I could think about was how the person I trusted the most had threatened me. Well, following the advice I got, I started documenting everything. I downloaded a voice recording app and kept my phone recording whenever we were together. I also started keeping a detailed journal of all our interactions, backing everything up to the cloud. Well, about 2 weeks after my post, she made another comment while we were making dinner. I'd gotten a text from a coworker, female, about a project and my wife saw it pop up on my phone. You better not be texting other women, she said in this scary, calm voice. Remember what I said about the life insurance policy? I had my phone recording, thankfully. I stayed calm and asked, are you threatening me again? It's not a threat if I'm protecting our marriage, she replied. I sent the recording to my lawyer. Yes, I got one, best decision ever by the way. She advised me to start planning an exit strategy but to be extremely careful given my wife's mental state and previous threats she had made. The breaking point came a month ago. I discovered my wife had actually taken out a $500,000 life insurance policy on me without my knowledge. She forged my signature on the documents and I only found out because the insurance company called to verify some information. I called my lawyer immediately and she helped me file a police report about the forgery and got an emergency restraining order. We also contacted the insurance company to report the fraud. They launched their own investigation and when the police came to serve the restraining order, my wife completely broke down. She started screaming that I was abandoning her just like her brother did and she threatened to end herself. The police called in a mental health crisis team and she was admitted to the psychiatric hospital again. While she was in the hospital, my lawyer helped me file for an annulment. Since we'd only been married for a few months, the grounds were fraud and duress and based on the threatening behavior and forged insurance policy. We had loads of evidence, the recordings, my detailed notes, the forged insurance documents and of course the police report. Her family actually supported me through this and her mom called me crying, apologizing for not seeing the warning signs. Apparently, my wife had stopped taking her medication right before proposing the Vegas wedding. Her therapist later confirmed confirmed this and the annulment was granted last week. The insurance fraud investigation is ongoing, but my lawyer says that I'm protected since I reported it as soon as I found out. I've moved to a new apartment since, with security cameras, changed my phone number and started seeing a therapist myself to process everything. Well, yesterday I got a letter from my ex-wife's current therapist. She is still in treatment but is doing better on her meds, and she wanted to apologize, but she's not supposed to contact me directly because of the restraining order. The therapist thinks the trauma of her brother's ending his own life triggered a psychotic episode, but that's not an excuse for what she did. Some people have asked why I didn't see the red flags sooner. Well, the truth is, when you love someone who is struggling with mental health, you want to believe that they are getting better. You make excuses, you think you can help them, but threatening to frame your partner for murder and secretly taking out life insurance policies? Well, that's not mental illness, that is just criminal behavior. My lawyer says I should stay vigilant for a while, keep the restraining order in place, and document any attempt at contact. I've made sure all my social media is locked down and my work knows not to give out any information about me. The hardest part has been accepting that someone I loved and trusted could turn into someone I had to run away from. But I am proud that I stood up for myself and got out of there safely. To anyone else in a similar situation, document everything, get legal help immediately, and don't wait until it is too late. Someone who truly loves you would never threaten to destroy your life. Edit. Thank you for the awards and support. To clarify some questions, yes, the life insurance policy was cancelled and the company is pursuing their own legal action about the forgery. My lawyer says that they take that extremely seriously because it is insurance fraud. Also, my ex's family helped me pack up my stuff from our old place while she was in the hospital, so I did not have to go back there. They are good people who are also dealing with their own trauma from all of this. Edit number 2. For those asking about the Vegas wedding, yes, looking back, the rush to get married was definitely a red flag. She went off her meds, convinced me to elope, and then started making threats once she had me locked down. Her words from one of the recordings. My lawyer says that this pattern of behavior helped strengthen the annulment case. And the next one is titled, "Ex-wife frames me for theft because I won custody of our son." And by the way, if you enjoy these crazy relationship stories, then please don't forget to post some star emojis in the comments and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already to not miss any of my daily uploads. Because honestly, if you're not subscribed with notifications on, there's a good chance that YouTube won't show you my videos every single day. So I really have no clue how my marriage lasted as long as it had. My ex-wife was massively unstable and abused whatever substances she could get her hands on through most of our relationship. Part of it was probably some belief that I could help her. I cannot deny that I cared about her, and even the smallest chance that I could fix her meant a lot to me. When the relationship was just me and her, that was one thing, but when it became unforgivable was when we had a child and I continued on as I always had. Now I was letting her affect this new and innocent person, and then I finally grew the balls to bring the divorce papers to her. I know exactly why those court proceedings took as long as they did, but I did it. I was free of her now and I want full custody of my son, so I didn't have to spend every other weekend chewing on my fingernails hoping she wouldn't get him hurt. Towards the end of the case, my ex was again thwarted by her own instability. I was staying with a friend, and when she figured that out, she went haywire. She drove through their garage door and badly damaged their car before driving off. She did not make it far before her smoking car scared her and she left it on the shoulder of the road nearby. I have two things to thank this event for. First, it just barely won me full custody of my son. I say just barely because it wouldn't have been enough if it weren't for the fact that my friend has cameras all around his property. These proved it was her, so a warrant went out immediately and they were able to test her and find confirmed drug use. Without the footage, she probably could have laid low to let the bender fade from her system. I will let you know the second thing a bit later in the story. So anyway, I won custody of my son and everything seemed just about perfect. I think I let my guard down for the same reason that I thought I could fix my ex for so damn long. I thought I was special, not special in the grand scheme of the world, just for her. I had seen her aggressive and spiteful behaviors before and never assumed that they would be directed at me in the same way they had been to so many others. She was not the subtlest criminal, largely because her actions were driven by bouts of impulsive rage. I did have my massive blind spot though. Things started to vanish from my home, but it was all small stuff. I had gotten rid of most photos of my ex, but there were a couple small knickknacks of her when they went missing. I explained it away as my son holding on to his memories of her. That could not be the healthiest thing, but he was 6 and I knew that the only thing he fully understood at the moment was that his mom was just not around anymore. I also explained away the overturned garbage or trashed pantry the same way, even when it was not logical. However, forceful knocking came to my door one day. Police! Something I've unfortunately heard before due to my ex, but never expected to worry about it again. Of course I answered the door. They asked to check my garage based on a tip and I cooperated because I had nothing to hide. I certainly shouldn't have had stolen goods and drugs in my garage, but both of us ended up surprised when we opened the door and found these things poorly hidden beneath a tarp that I don't even think I owned. So then I ended up leaving my home in handcuffs. There was only a moment of shock before I knew what must have happened. I posted bail without any hesitation after the arrest, and now we can return to the second reason that I was grateful for her last criminal act of stupidity. Part of the reason it was so immediately open and shut to allow me full custody was because of my friend's video footage. It proved that she had done the act, and with what they were able to get warrants for, a drug test quickly. Yet again, we now had proof of her planting the items in my garage. I went to my ex and showed her the footage. I had her dead to rights and thought that would be enough. I knew that the person that I had stolen the goods from was a friend of my ex. The footage would be enough to have me cleared for the drug charges easily enough, but without the assistance from my wife, it would not help me get the charges dropped without a longer legal affair. I thought for once she might be reasonable when confronted with such damning evidence, but instead she wanted me to shove the footage where the sun does not shine. She accused me of stealing her son, and when I started listing all the reasons she had no right to our son, she turned into a screaming match. I wasn't exactly proud of how heated I ended up getting, especially when I had her dead to rights and the argument was not going to do anything for me. Anyway though, I brought the footage to my lawyer, but was not surprised to learn that it would not do enough for me without some signs of conspiracy or malicious intent. They said we could only get a warrant for my wife, and I was worried that she might do her best to clear the chats. Confronting her with the videos might have been the worst thing I could have done because it gave her warning. We ended up being able to look through her phone, and I thought we found nothing productive, but apparently she had also let her guard down because she had deleted a few messages. Her messages still showed a long period of communication between her and the person pressing charges against me. This ended up being enough in this case to convince the judge to give the additional warrant for searching his phone. She had gotten her warning but apparently had never given the claimant his. When they looked into his phone, they found clear signs supporting that conspiracy to frame me had been in motion ever since the end of the custody trial. The planting of supposedly stolen goods had been clearly orchestrated, and I'm very fortunate. When I got arrested, and during the investigation that followed, I was just concerned that my wife's antics would hurt our son. I ended up being able to contact my parents through my lawyer, and they picked him up from school and kept him away from all the chaos and even the media attention that was starting to grow within my city. When I saw my son next, it was after we had all the evidence compiled and the case was dead to rights. I got to take him home, and then after a short night without much sleep, I took him to school and went to the court for the final verdict and sentencing. My ex did try to throw an extra fly in the ointment when she showed up on that final day covered in bruises. She screamed and raged and threw a full tantrum in tears in front of the court, accusing me of beating her for some BS that would mean I was somehow the mastermind of the whole crime framing business. Too bad for her, I had a definitive alibi with my parents that placed me as picking up my son and bringing him home during the times that my ex claimed I was abusing her. I could even pull up footage from my cameras to prove that I arrived at home with my son and did not leave. She accused it of being doctored though. The judge humored my ex enough to call a short recess after her presentation of new charges, but with the insistence that the footage was doctored, he cut her off and revealed her claims amount to perjury. This worked with a false police report and proof of conspiracy and breaking and entering to have her declared guilty. I was not gonna worry about any major prison time, but the judge actually pushed charges on her by the courts for the manipulation of the legal system. She ended up in prison for her crimes, and I could not be any happier about that. Out of sight and out of life, so to say. I cannot believe that the woman I once loved would do this to me, but that's how it was. She also had a hefty list of fines, and really, I was happy to have her out of my life and not unhappy to see her pay for her crimes, as well as now having full custody of our son, but when it came down to it, I just wanted to go home to my son and make sure that all of this did not hurt him. In a perfect world, he would not have to be without a mother at the moment, but I will do everything I can to make sure he has everything he needs for a happy childhood. The next one is an Am I the A-hole story. So, my brother Tom, 36 male, and I, 26 female, have never had a really solid relationship. Due to our age gap, we didn't spend much time, and by the time I was old enough to develop a personality, he was moved out of the house. For the last 2 years, my brother and his fiancée Sarah, 32 female, have been planning their wedding, and it's coming up in September. I was asked to be a bridesmaid. I figured I was only asked as a courtesy since I'm her soon-to-be sister-in-law, but I still took it seriously. I've been a bridesmaid for the last 2 years. Just a few weeks ago, I managed to save up to buy the $800 bridesmaid dress. Overall, in the last 2 years, between group outings to parties, dinners, lunches, clothes, etc., I spent thousands of dollars. Eventually, all the girls in the wedding and I became extremely close, and I started to get hyped for the wedding. Sarah recently got close with her brother's wife Becky, 30 female. Last week she dropped the ball on me that she no longer wants me to be a bridesmaid, and she would prefer if Becky would take my place. It broke my heart a little, but it's her wedding and it's not my place to tell her how to run it, so I said it was fine. Yesterday, I went to my brother's house to pick up the bridesmaid dress and was gonna see if I could return it since it was within the time frame. Sarah was completely appalled and said that Becky was going to wear it since she and I are the same size. I said that would be fine, but they would have to pay me the $800 for it. Sarah said that Becky couldn't afford it and I should just be nice and let her use it, and said that I could keep it after the wedding. I explained that I'm not just giving away the dress and I'm not ever gonna use it after the wedding. After some bickering back and forth, I just ended up taking it and leaving. My brother and Sarah tried to compromise with me and say I could be the assistant flower girl, and I felt offended at the offer. After I said no, they then said that Becky could give me $250 for it. Again, no, and I returned the dress and got a full refund. I told them that I understand it's their wedding, but they are being extremely disrespectful to me and I don't need to deal with it, and I'm not going to the wedding. Today, my coworker says that she has an extra round-trip plane ticket to go to Miami that she will sell to me for half price, plus I would have to pay for half the hotel and I can go hang out with her in Florida. The only downside is that I'll be in Florida for the week of my brother's wedding, so will I be the a-hole if I just go party in Miami instead of going to my brother's wedding? Comment number 1, not the a-hole. They treated you with such disrespect that even if you didn't have a better offer, not going to the wedding is still the right choice. Comment number 2, not the a-hole. How can someone logically conclude that it's okay to pass on a brand new dress without compensating the original owner, considering it's within return timeline? I mean, I just cannot get around that bit. Everything else, while crappy, I get how that can happen. But damn, the dress thing just doesn't make sense at all. And here, ripe stars, let me know what you think about this story in the comments. And after you have done that, we will now read the update to the story. So, Becky saw the post on TikTok, so she obviously let the cat out of the bag. My whole family is split on what I should do, but after a heated argument, it was mutually agreed that I will not be attending the wedding. My brother and future sister-in-law cannot seem to comprehend that this is not about the dress, but how they treated me. For those wondering what our parents have to say, our mother says, if you're gonna be an a-hole, don't be upset when someone is an a-hole back. My dad says, basically nothing, because he is long dead. My brother and future sister-in-law think that I'm being the a-hole here, but by the way my mom paid for the hotel for my trip, I think it's safe to assume whose side she is low-key on. I appreciate all the love and support I got. I will have an amazing time in Miami and won't feel the slightest bit guilty thanks to the overwhelmingly positive response I got on here. And the next one is an I don't work here lady story. So this story came from my friend's husband, Leon. And yes, this is Henry's husband. Henry is my retired army officer friend. Leon worked as a police officer from the late 90s to early 2000s until being injured in the line of duty. One December evening, Leon was finishing up his shift when Henry, who he was dating at the time, called him asking if he could pick up a couple of last-minute things for a Christmas party. Since Walmart is about a mile away from the station, Leon decides to go there. He is wearing a thick dark blue coat over his uniform, complete with vest, belt and gear, including his sidearm radio, handcuffs and baton. Or baton, I forgot how to pronounce that. Anyway, he is in the dairy section getting some cream when he heard a woman say in a low voice, "Excuse me?" Leon turns to look. There's a young woman, maybe college age, dressed in jeans, a thick coat and heavily pregnant. Definitely not the Karen type. "Can you please help me get a TV from the back?" Leon is about to use the classic "I don't work here lady" line when he sees the fear in her eyes. Now on high alert, he leans close to her and whispers, "What happened?" I'm scared of my husband. He just shot the officer who pulled us over. Leon looks up and sees this strung out looking man who looks like he hasn't showered in days and watching them with, as Leon recounted, shark eyes. Thinking fast, Leon says loud enough for the man to hear, I'm more than happy to help you, ma'am. Let me page back and we will get it in a minute. Hang tight. Using his cell phone, which was not as common as it is now, he texted a fellow officer who was still on duty, asking her if an officer got shot. When she confirmed it and asked what was going on, he told her what's going on, to alert the manager and to send a couple of units to the store. She responded to him that the units were on the way, the manager had been alerted, and to hang tight. Once he received her text, he said, It's on its way to the front. I will personally escort you there so the manager knows who it belongs to. So he leads the family to the front and makes eye contact with the manager. The manager, who recognizes Leon from previous excursions, comes over. Leon, keeping up the charade, says to the manager, Boss, I think it would be good to get the lady off her feet for a little bit while we get the car loaded, he said with a meaningful look. It's going to take several minutes anyway. The manager nods and says, Of course, come with me, ma'am. My office is just this way. Once the lady and the manager were safely away, Leon and the man head out to the parking lot. Just then, Leon spots the officers getting out of their cars and nodding at them. The takedown was not as dramatic as you would expect it to be. They recognized him and arrested him as soon as several outstanding warrants for his arrest were revealed. The officer the man had attacked survived his injuries, and the man got a nice long prison sentence for several charges, including attempted murder. The lady filed for divorce and, with Leon and Henry's help, was able to get home to her family. Last Leon heard, she was doing well. When she heard the story, Henry, as she put it to me, knew that I met the man I was gonna marry someday. And yeah, Ripe Stars, I gotta say, I've never read such an I don't work here lady story before. Oftentimes these I don't work here lady stories feel sort of generic, but certainly not this one. What a turn. Props to OP for handling this situation so well. And yeah guys, with this we have reached the end of the video. However, if you cannot get enough of my content, please don't forget to subscribe to the channel to not miss any of my daily uploads. And also check out my podcast by searching for Ripe Stories on Spotify, Amazon, Audible, and other podcast platforms. You will often find exclusive episodes and early access to new content. Furthermore, please check out my Patreon by going to patreon.com/ripeyoutube or my YouTube membership program for even more exclusive stories. Thank you so much, and I will see you again tomorrow.